Hello, people of God. This is Pastor Frank Hawkins from Latter House Ministries International. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on this it's cold here in Virginia, cold Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, or whatever time of day you may be viewing this broadcast. My prayer is that your week has been blessed. My prayer is that you've had encounters with God that have been life-changing and life-altering. As we come to the end of the year of 2025 and preparing to enter into the year of 2026, I believe that God is preparing us by giving us a fresh set of clothing. Now, one of the synonyms for fresh is to be renewed. I always like to say, a lot of times God will renew us, restore us, refresh us, and also revive us. Now, for some of us, 2025 has been somewhat of a knockdown, drag out fight. We've been taking some heavy shots from the enemy. Some of us are still in the fight. Some of us are still swinging. But the thing is, right, until the final bell rings, I encourage you to keep swinging. I encourage you to keep fighting. I encourage you not to give up any ground to the enemy, Now, when we receive fresh garments or some fresh clothing, that is a signifier that we are about to receive a new position. Now, and new positions represent new assignments. So some will go into positions that they may not want, they may not necessarily want, but it's necessary for proper development and proper growth for us to get us to the next level. Now, last week I talked about just receiving a fresh start, and the reference had to do with the children of Israel as they were coming into Egypt. They were just not going to any place in Egypt, but they were going into a good and plentiful land, a land that was called Goshen. Now, the land represented in and of itself, it was a symbol of divine provisions, all right? And it was Goshen also it was an illustration of God's care, even in a foreign land. So it was God's provision for his people, even in a place where they didn't necessarily originate from. Didn't necessarily originate from. Goshen also represented God's protective mercies. So even though things were going on in Egypt, they had the plagues, there was death, there was darkness, Goshen still prospered. Again, when there was death of the firstborns in the land of Egypt, we know that the children of Israel put the blood of a lamb on their doorpost, and it says that the death angel passed over them. It did not come into them to the land of Goshen. So Goshen was a prosperous place. A few of the points that I made from last week was this. One of the first things I said was, please claim your Goshen. Claim that land that God has given you. Claim that good and plentiful land that God has placed you in everything, right. The second point is that each new place provides us with a new opportunity to make a difference. I'm going to say that again. Each new place provides us with an opportunity to make a difference. And it could be making a difference in the community that we are a part of, making a difference in those that we come in contact with, making a difference, even those that we meet only one time, and making a difference in the lives of those people. The third point that I made is that a fresh start also means new people, and it also means new garments. Now that's my topic for today is fresh garments. Again, my name is Pastor Frank Hawkins, and I welcome you to Latter House Ministries International, where we believe is that it doesn't matter how much you've gone through. It doesn't matter everything that you've done in the past, God can still use you, and God still has a purpose for you. One of the things that we like to say here is that your latter shall be greater than your past. Your past may have been great, but God still has something greater in store for you. So again, we say welcome to the house. I say welcome to the house. Now, fresh garments. Let's talk about fresh garments. And my core scripture today will come from Genesis 41 and 14. And I will be reading from the Amplified Classic Version of the Bible. And it's just one scripture, but I believe that there is a lot in this scripture. My goal is not to be before you long, but I believe that there's a lot in what I believe that God downloaded for me today to give to you upon this again, cold Sunday morning. So again, Genesis 41 and 14, Amplified Classic, and it says this: Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. But Joseph first shaved himself, changed his clothes, and made himself presentable. Then he came unto Pharaoh's presence. He came unto Pharaoh's presence. Now, precursor to that is that a lot of us know the story of Joseph. We know that he was loved by his father, Jacob. He was one of his favorite sons. He had given him a coat of many colors. His brothers did not care for him too much, so they took his coat. They threw him in a pit. Their goal was to kill him, but they sold him into slavery. He wound up in Potiphar's house, and he took care of Potiphar's house, and he was lied on by Potiphar's wife. Because of that accusation, Joseph went to prison. Not only was he sent to prison, but he was put in charge of the prisoners there in the jail. All right, so he gave a word of prophecy to the butler and the baker. One was restored back to his former position. The other one was beheaded. And it happened just as Joseph said. So the word got back to the Pharaoh, who had a dream, and none of his people could interpret the dream. And Pharaoh was told that, hey, there was a Hebrew man in jail who was able to interpret dreams. So after Pharaoh heard this, he went and asked for Joseph. Joseph cleaned himself up. Now he's coming to Pharaoh. So let's take a look at this. Now again, the purpose of my message, the topic of my message today is fresh garments. It is fresh garments, fresh garments. As life is seasonal, so are our wardrobes. You would look weird wearing summer clothes in the winter. As a matter of fact, where we are here in Virginia, it is like, I want to say when I woke up this morning, it was 27 degrees. But with the wind chill, it said that it felt like 17 degrees. It felt like 17 degrees. So a person would look odd wearing summer clothes in this type of weather. What they were wearing would be unseasonal. So Joseph is noticeable for wearing different clothes in different seasons of his life, right? And we'll go through some of the things, some of the different seasons that Joseph went through. All right. So first of all, he started out, he wore a coat of many colors. And again, this coat was given to him by his father, and it was an indicator that he was a favorite son. He was a favorite son. But this coat was stripped off by his brothers and then he was sold into slavery in Egypt. All right. Once that was stripped off, they put on a garment of slavery for him. All right. Again, indicating another season in his life. Now, the garment of slavery was ripped off by Potiphar's wife, and then he put on the garment as a jailer. So he went from being a favored son, he was put into slavery. Now he's wearing the garments of a jailer. Then all of a sudden, he's called to Pharaoh, and then what he had to do was take off the jailer's garment, and he finally put on a linen garment that represented his new position, which was second in command of Egypt. Now you can see the progress here. He goes from favored son, and simultaneously, as he was a favored son, he was a hated brother. All right, simultaneously, and you will find that in your life, that you may be loved by some, but you will be hated by others. Don't let that deter you, because just like God was with Joseph every step of the way, God is with you every step of the way. God is with you when you're at your highest point, and God is with you even at your lowest point. God was with Joseph as he was a favorite son, but he was also with Joseph while he was in jail. It's the same thing with you. Even at your highest point, God is there with you. And even at your lowest point, God is also there with you. Now let's take a look. Let's dig a little deeper into the garments, the garments that Joseph wore. Now we talked about his coat of many colors. Now, what that represent in my study and in my time of preparing this message was that the clothes of the favored. All right. He was clothed in favoritism. He was favored by his father. All right. Clothed of the favorite. Now, again, it was a coat of many colors, and you find this in Genesis 37:3, and it says this: Now Israel loved Joseph more than all of his sons, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a very colored tunic. So he made him a coat of many colors, because why? Because Joseph was his favorite son. Now, his brothers, because they didn't like him, they called him a dreamer in the scripture. You find that in Genesis 37:23 and 24, that they stripped that tunic off of him, and they put on I want to say a garment of suffering. All right, let's call it that way, a garment of suffering. And in Genesis 37:23 and 24, so it came when Joseph reached his brothers that they stripped Joseph of his tunic, the multicolored tunic that was on him, and took him and threw him into a pit. So they stripped away the favoritism. They stripped away his colorful garment, and they gave him clothes of suffering. As in the pit, he was suffering. All right, he was suffering. So he became a slave. He was sold into slavery unto the Egyptians, or in some translations it says the Ishmaelites. But they came through and they sold him. So he went from being a favorite son, clothed of being a favorite. Now he's wearing the clothing of the suffering. All right, so now he's suffering. Now the next set of clothing that Joseph is wearing, you'll find in Genesis 39:11 and 12. And this is the clothes of moral integrity. Even though Joseph was in slavery, even though he was in bondage, he never forgot who he was. He never wavered in his integrity. He never allowed his position to get in the way of who his God was. And again, Genesis 39:11 through 12 says this: Now it happened one day that he went into the house to do his work. He was about his business. He was doing what he was there to do, which was to take care of Potiphar's house. And the scripture says that even Potiphar knew that his house was blessed because of Joseph. And it says, and none of the men of the household was there inside. So she, being Potiphar's wife, caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hands and fled, and he went outside. All right. He did not allow his integrity to be tainted. So he wore a garment of integrity along with the garments of suffering, along with his clothing of suffering. So what does that mean? That means that even though you may be going through something, or even though you may be dealing with something, it still does not negate your moral integrity to God as you go through. Even if we're going through a rough patch, as we're going through hard times, we are still required to maintain integrity, because not only are people watching, but God is watching. Now, something else we have to understand is that the test or the trial that we may be going through is something that God may allow in order to bring something to us, or it's there to allow something to be stripped off of us, so no matter what, we still have to operate in integrity, even as we are going through something, Now, the next garment that we're going to talk about is the clothes of the testing. All right. clothed of testing. And you find this in Genesis 41 and 14. It says, then Pharaoh, and this is our core scripture, and then Pharaoh sent and called for Joseph, and they hurriedly brought him out of the dungeon. And when he had shaved himself and changed his clothes. Now, what was the test? He had to interpret the dream that Pharaoh had, that none of his people, none of the people that were around Pharaoh before they called Joseph could interpret this dream. So the test was that he would interpret the dream. Now, get this, it wasn't him that interpreted the dream. It was the ability that God gave him that allowed him to interpret the dream. So again, this is where let's do a slight recap before I get to the final garment. Now, he was clothed in favoritism. He was clothed in suffering. He was clothed in moral integrity along with his suffering. He was clothed with the testing, all right, garments of testing. And finally, he was clothed in the garments that were exalted, the garments that exalted him, that showed his position had changed once again. Position had changed once again. So one thing I need you to understand, all right, with this. Now the clothes for favoritism were given to him by his father, all right. That was stripped off by his brothers, and after they stripped off the favoritism clothing, they gave him the clothing of suffering. So one was stripped, one was given. All right. So the clothing of moral integrity was this. All right. So when he was operating in morality, again, his cloak again was stripped off. All right. All right. It was stripped off. He didn't take it off. All right. It was stripped off. Now, the clothes of testing, again, this is something that was, again, taken off. He took the clothing off. All right. It was taken off. Now, the clothing of the exiled, or not exiled, but the exalted, all right, this was given to him. So at the beginning, we see the clothing given to him, and at the end, we see that it was given to him. So 1 was given, 5 was given, 2, 3, and 4 were stripped away. All right, those were stripped away. In the meantime, whether it was stripped away or whether it was given, God is in control of it all. All right, he's in control of it all. As a matter of fact, all of the garments that Joseph wore during this time, they were all fashioned and wonderfully made for him by God. God is the tailor of the garments that we wear. And I'm not talking about just our physical garments. I'm talking about the spiritual garments that we carry in each assignment, the spiritual cloak that God gives us, the cloak of multicolors that sometimes we spiritually wear comes from God. The cloak of moral integrity is something that is fashioned by God for us to wear. The cloak of testing, again, is something that's fashioned by God for us to wear as we go through. And then finally, the cloak of the exalted. When God elevates us, he shows us. Now something I need for you to understand is this. Right? And I've said this in a couple of messages some time ago. I believe that when Joseph was exalted by Pharaoh, that Potiphar and his wife was in the audience or in the crowd when he got exalted. All right. So what am I saying? I'm saying that those that were there to try to cause your downfall or try to cause you to be put into prison, those that were there that watched you win in will also be there when you come out. All right. You see this time and time and again. You see it in Daniel with the 3 Hebrew boys. They watched them go into the fiery furnace, but they were also there when they came out of the fiery furnace. Those that tried to cause destruction with Daniel watched him go into the lion's den, and they also had to watch him come out of the lion's den. So what am I saying? Those that try to do you harm or those that try to do you wrong, and again, just like with Joseph, God is with you every step of the way. They will watch you go in, but they also have to watch you come out. Watch you come out. Now, trust me, their attitudes as they watch you go in is way different than the attitudes that they feel when they see you come out. When they watch you go in, they have a sense of arrogance. They have a sense of, we got them. They have a sense of, there's nothing that he can do for us. They have this air, the air about them that makes them untouchable. But when they see you come out by the hand of God, that arrogance turns into fear. So what am I saying? Don't fear what the enemy tries to send your way. The scripture says that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And I need you to understand this. When the scripture says this, is that the enemy takes his time to fashion a weapon specifically for your destruction that does not work. What am I saying? I'm saying that the enemy has wasted his time fashioning this weapon because you are protected by God. Remember again, in the scripture, it said that God was with Joseph. God was with Joseph. And just like God, if God is with Joseph, God is with you every step of the way. Every time your garments change, every time you take one garment off and put another one on, God is there with you. Every time a garment is stripped off and another one is forced upon you, God is with you every step of the way. Every step of the way. Now look at this. Joseph certainly had a very uncommon wardrobe. He most certainly did. You know, in Joseph's story, we learned that his life had different seasons, just like our lives. You know, his season was very dynamic. He had both good times and bad times, and likewise for us. With our previous wardrobes, we have various types of wardrobes in various seasons. Just like Joseph, I have garments of my youth. I have garments of when I was in high school. I have garments of my days in the military. I have garments of my days as a teacher in the public school system. I have garments of my days working for the federal government. And just like in future times, I will have garments of this time that I will be able to look back up on. All right. And each garment represents a different stage in my life. Now, some parts of our lives or some garments, a lot of us would like to forget. All right. Some of us like to forget. We like to forget the hard times. We like to forget the rough times. We like to forget the times when we did stuff wrong or when we know that we were outside of the will of God. You know, sometimes we will keep those garments to remind us not to go in that direction again. Or we would keep those garments to remind us not to disobey God. Or this was the result of when God told me to go in one direction, but I chose to go in another direction. Those garments are there sometimes to remind us. Now, we also have garments that remind us of the good times when we did follow God's commandments, when we did obey God, and when we did receive the rewards of that garment, that linen garment that Pharaoh gave Joseph. We received our linen garment that elevated our position. Sometimes we want to keep those garments. All right. We want to keep those garments. Now, in our wardrobes, we may share familiar patterns with those that are around us. Like I still have friends that I knew from my military days. You know, those people that I have worked with in various jobs, you know, and everything, right? And based on conversations, a lot of us have the same story. Some of us may even share the same struggles. So some of our garments may be very common, or some of our struggles or some of our trials may be very common. Like someone else may have had a coat of many colors. It may not have been the same colors, but it could have been a coat of many colors. Now, all of us have had some type of trial or some type of garment that signified that we dealt with some type of moral challenge or some type of testing from God. Some of us have the same type of garments. The challenges may not have been the same, or the threat to our integrity may not have been the same, but they were still similar tests. They were still tests. All right. Now, life challenges aren't always easy. All right. A lot of times they involve stressful moments. Now, I'm here to tell you, anytime you are in a season of transition, it is a hard season. It is a hard season. As a matter of fact, a simple way to look at it is this. All right. Anytime you're going from one room to another room, you have to pass through a doorway if you're inside of a building. Now, the doorway is always smaller than the room you're either leaving or the room that you're going into. So it becomes a more of a confined space. What am I saying? I'm saying that sometimes you can't take what you had in the room that you're leaving into the room that you are going into. Sometimes you have to leave things behind. All right. So again, just like some of his garments were stripped off, God will sometimes strip off those things that you're not supposed to carry into your new season. Your new season. Sometimes you have to leave the clothes there. So sometimes you have to go through your closet every now and then and take out those shirts, those pants, those coats, those things that are old or tattered or worn, and you have to throw them away or get rid of them. Or if they're in good repair, you can donate them. All right, because when you remove the old stuff, it makes room for the new. Because sometimes we become hoarders. We become hoarders of the good times and the bad times. That's what we become. And a lot of times we allow those things, those times, to live rent free in our minds, and we can't move forward because they are acting like an anchor, holding us in place, preventing us from moving forward. We can't put on new garments because we're still trying to hold on to the old garments. As a matter of fact, we're trying to put them all on at the same time. And they don't fit. All right. They don't fit. All right. So we have to remember that we have to leave the old things behind sometimes in order for us to take on the new. All right. Now get this. New clothes symbolize new supplies and seasons. All right. I'm going to say that again. New clothes or new garments, fresh garments, symbolize new supplies and a new season. As God is preparing to take you into the next season, as God is preparing you to take you to the next assignment, a garment change has to take place. Joseph could not go before Pharaoh in prison clothes. He couldn't go smelling like a prisoner. He couldn't go looking like a prisoner. And he definitely couldn't go speaking like a prisoner. Now, as God is preparing you for the next in your life, the next assignment, the next purpose in your life, he's changing some things. He's shaving some of us. He's washing some of us. He's stripping off the old garments for some of us and giving us new garments for the new assignment. Now, I remember my days in the military. I was in the Navy. And when I made E7, for those of you who were in the Navy, the big thing is when you make Chief Petty Officer in the Navy. There's this whole process that you have to go through, but the biggest thing is when you get pinned with your chief's anchors, your uniform changes. Your uniform doesn't look like the E6 and below uniform. You change that uniform. As a matter of fact, you can throw all of those E6 and below uniforms away. And now you're in a different category altogether. That when people see you walking down to your office or walking on the ship, based on how your uniform looks, even your belt was different, they know automatically that you are an E7 or above. And in that, my assignment changed. Now, when my assignment changed, I could no longer think like the ranks below me. I was only responsible for the current rank and taking care of the people below me, walking in my current assignment, taking care of those that were below me, but also managing some of those that were above me. So there was a significant change. And then my assignment changed. I could no longer be operational, so to speak. Now I had to be more administrative. All right. more administrative. So it is the same thing with some of us. Sometimes with a garment change or with fresh garment, there has to be a new mindset associated with that. You can't use the old way of thinking in your new position. All right, in your new position. Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. If God is allowing you to go into your new position, if he's giving you fresh garments, if he's giving you new supplies and a new season, then in his mind, you are ready for the new assignment. See, God is not going to put you in a position that he does not believe that you are ready for. Unlike us in the world, we'll place a person in a position based on how they look. God is not going to elevate you ahead of time. God is only going to elevate you when he knows that you are ready to fulfill the assignment and the call that he has prepared for you. That's how God operates. So I say to you again, as you're preparing to go into 2026, I believe that God is stripping away old garments for some of us. God is preparing new garments for us. Remember, he's the tailor. All right. He made us. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We were fashioned by the very hands of God, just like he fashioned us and is putting us in different places, strategically placing us where he needs us. He's also fashioning our garments so that we can be identified for our new position, so that we can be identified for the new calling and the new purpose that he has placed upon our lives. So the question is, are you ready? Are you ready for the new garments? Are you ready for the new resources? Are you ready for the new assignment? If God says that you're ready, then guess what? You are ready. Remember, he is the author and finisher of our faith. So I'm here to tell you, shave yourself, clean yourself up, strip off your prison clothes, strip off the beggar's clothes, strip off those garments that identified where you were, all right? And prepare yourself to put on new garments and to go where God is calling you to go, So my closing points are this, and I have 4 of them. As life is seasonal, so are our wardrobes. You don't want to be wearing garments that are out of season. You don't want to be wearing a mink coat in the middle of July or the middle of August when it's 100 degrees outside, and you definitely don't want to be walking around in flip-flops and shorts outside right now when there's a wind chill of 17 degrees. All right. Now, the second point, a wardrobe change can happen suddenly. Remember, Joseph, he was stripped of some things instantaneously. He was stripped of his tunic of many colors. He was stripped as he was wearing his garment of integrity. All right. He was stripped. Now, but also remember that his tunic was given to him by his father, just like the linen garments were given to him by Pharaoh when he was elevated to his position, second only to Pharaoh. Point number 3 is that new clothes symbolize new supplies and new season. God is preparing new resources, new supplies in your new season as you put on your fresh garments. And my 4th one is this. No matter what garments you are currently wearing, God is the one who tailor-made it. He's the one that tailor-made it. He is the one that puts the garments on you. Remember, those that were in authority are the ones that placed the garments on Joseph. All right, on Joseph. His father put on the tunic of many colors. It was his brothers that put on the tunic of slavery. All right, it was when they put him in jail or put him in prison, it was a jailer that put on the tunic of him being a prisoner. But at the end, it was Pharaoh that allowed his garments of his fine linen garments of redemption to be placed on him. And I'm here to tell you that God is redeeming some of us. God is giving us the tunic. God is restoring some of us with new garments. Again, 2025 for some of us has been a knockdown, drag out fight. But you know what? The final bell has not rung. All right. So I'm here to tell you to keep on swinging, keep on fighting, and keep preparing yourself for the garment that God has in store for you. So my final prayer for you as always is this. May God keep you and may God bless you. May God make his face shine upon you and give you peace. And may he continue to have his countenance upon you and be with you as you go. My prayer is that this week for you will be filled with God's peace, will be filled with God's blessing, that he will go with you, that he will go before you, that he would be your end and your beginning, that he would be your top cover, he would be your bottom cover, and that whatever you need, he is the one that provides it. He's the one that provides it. Now, I'm here to say one more thing. If you don't know who Christ is, I encourage you today to surrender your life to Christ. Right now, if you want to, you can do it right now at this moment. Ask Jesus to come into your heart. The scripture just says that all you have to do is confess with your mouth and believe with your heart that Jesus Christ is Lord, and then you shall be saved. I encourage you that if you don't have a church, find a church that's close to you. Go and be a part of an assembly of believers. Be a part of an assembly of believers. Have regular fellowship with those in that body. You know, get into your word. Spend that time in prayer. I'm encouraging you. Don't go into 2026 carrying the same baggage that you had in 2025. God again has fresh garments for you. Thank you again for taking time to be with us here at Latter House Ministries International. My prayer is that I will see you next week. Blessings.